Today we are talking about simulation theory. Welcome to the Epicworld, the creator channel. I'm Epic, Eric Paul, Ilian Cherkov. Ilian is my mom's maiden name. I realized that when I added in my name, the initials do spell epic. I think that's pretty awesome. The idea of being in a simulation makes a lot of statistical sense. When I asked ChatGPT, as I just did, are we in a simulation? Our response is, this is one of those deep questions where science, philosophy, and speculation all meet. The idea that we might be living in a simulation was popularized by the philosopher Nick Bostrom in 2003. The argument goes something like this. 1. If future civilizations become technologically advanced enough, they could run simulations of their ancestors. 2. If they do, and they run many such simulations, then simulated beings would vastly outnumber biological beings. So statistically, it might be more likely that we are among the simulated beings rather than the original ones. As of today, there is no direct evidence proving we're in a simulation. Physicists have proposed some experiments to look for possible pixelation or limits in the universe, like a simulation's resolution, but nothing definitive has been found. On the flip side, arguments against the simulation theory often highlight that the immense computational power it would take to simulate an entire universe down to the quantum level improbable, right? Like Dyson sphere improbable. I have a counter argument to that as well. The assumption that future beings would want to run such simulations in the first place. So, proof either way, which remains an open, fascinating possibility. The thinkers, of course, like the famous Elon Musk, consider it likely, while others see it as more speculative philosophy than hard science. When you think about the idea of us being in a simulation, this world does not simulate the way that we are taught to think digitally, right? If you think of a simulation, you probably think of Sims that you grew up, or I grew up playing on a computer. We think of putting on a virtual reality headset and then seeing everything in front of you. But to understand the core of what it would take for a simulation that's such as the one that we live in, requires thinking at not a technology point, but a biology standpoint. See, because biology grows without something external needing to be done to it. Technology does not grow when it is just left on its own, right? If we just dumped a bunch of computers into a room and we left them there for 1 trillion years, they're going to still be a bunch of computers because they have been programmed by a conscious creator. But when we look at biology, we look at nature, like trees and seeds and everything on Earth. It has a persistence to it and continues its cycle on and on and on. So to think of a simulation in terms of the technological sphere does not make sense with our current level of technology. But to think of a simulation from a biological sphere makes a lot more sense, because we can actually see growth happen in biological systems without actually touching them. Now, when you look at what the future most probably holds, such as transhumanism, where humans and technology are merged, and you scale out the probable potentials of what happens when the mind of a man is, the mind of a woman is connected to the computational power that a computer has. And so instead of just being able to think at 120 miles per second, 120 meters per second that thoughts travel at, that thinking is able to pair and connect with computational power that can run through entire dictionaries in mere seconds, being able to scan over every single word in the dictionary within that second time span. That is godly movement. Could it be possible that if we were to even consider the fact, as we do, that we are in a simulation, that we're using the wrong word to be able to unpack the very essence of what it is? Simulated is like the wrong way to be able to describe it. Let's ask ChatGPT. What would be a more biological word to describe the idea of a simulation? Instead of the word simulation, we're shifting the metaphor from digital to biological. So here are some words that could work depending on the nuance. Ecosystem, organism, matrix, construct, morphogenesis, phenotype, emergence, and embodiment. All of these words could be like biological equivalents of simulation in the sense of generated experience or model. ChatGPT says emergence or phenotype. Phenotype, I don't really know how that's pronounced. Those come closest. If you want it to feel even more alive, organism or ecosystem could really shift the angle. So if we looked at the universe as a living, breathing, happening, learning organism, we're living, breathing, modulating phenotype, well, that begins to pack things in a very different way. Instead of thinking of the simulation as all digital, right? Well, that's just some fun ways to begin the conversation on this. I am a big fan of the simulation theory, but I will say that I have felt like this is the wrong word to be able to describe it. What do you think about it? That's the video. It's Epicworld. Peace.